If you were born in the last 30 years or so, give or take, maybe a little bit more, then you know exactly why 2021 is such a big deal. It has nothing to do with public opinion, politics, education, none of that. It's purely video games. And if you're an avid fan like I am of video games in general, Xbox, or even Halo, then it means all the much more to you because we finally get to see Halo Infinite released. After many delays, pushbacks, all things of that nature, we finally are getting it in our hands this month, December of 2021, and it's been a long time coming. So, without further ado, this is technically. Let's go! It wouldn't quite be a Halo release if we didn't see a limited edition Halo console to go with it. And Halo Infinite is no exception because we have a spiffy new console just to commemorate the release of the game. But not only that, it also commemorates another big milestone for not just the Halo franchise, but also Xbox and Microsoft. This year, November 15th, 2021, Xbox celebrated its 20th anniversary alongside Halo, because back in 2001, we saw Halo Combat Evolved released for the original Xbox, and that was just a work of art in its own. It set the foundations for a lot of games moving forward, and here we are 20 years later with the 6th installment of the Halo franchise, or at least the main installment. There's been a bunch of spin-offs, and I'm super stoked to be able to play the game and finish up this second trilogy, so to speak, because we saw Halo 1, 2, and 3, and then 343, as you all know, took over with Halo 4, 5, and 6, kind of made it their own while also trying to stay true to the franchise. And Halo Infinite, it just marks a lot of turning points for the studio as well as Halo. So I'm probably not the only one to say that I'm super excited, super stoked, and super eager to play the game, but I'm also just eager to open up the console, because I've seen pictures, I've seen some unboxings online, but I haven't actually seen it myself. It's still sealed, and I've had it for about a couple weeks. So I think it's about time we open it up. But we're also going to take a look at some other Halo consoles, because I think with the Halo Infinite console, it's very unique in its own, but also 5 and 4 saw very unique consoles released alongside the games. Halo 4 was an interesting turning point for the franchise because up until then, we hadn't seen any enemies besides the Covenant, Brutes, Elites, the Flood. That was kind of like the Halo villain, so to speak. Halo 4, once 343 took the helm and kind of got the baton passed to them by Bungie, went a slightly different route and explored a little bit more mythology and lore of Halo and introduced the Prometheans into the main franchise, which I personally thought was cool. Some people would say otherwise and weren't fans of it. They also changed the art style a bit, which I kind of liked the direction as well, and that also translated into this limited edition console that they did for Halo 4. Obviously, this isn't the original Xbox 360 design. They went through a couple of iterations, and this was the more recent one, which I believe was just the Xbox 360 Slim, I think. And at the time that Halo 4 was released, this is the Xbox that was available rather than the original one. Halo 3, if you look back around 2007, had its own limited edition console, which had the Master Chief main colors, that green and orange, and that was the limited edition console offered for that game. But Halo 4 got this new body style of the Xbox 360, along with a new color scheme that kind of matched the game. I don't have the original controller because I actually bought this secondhand, so just the console. But I do have another limited edition Halo controller, which I've had for a while. Really fun, really cool, because it has Master Chief on one part of the controller, and then on the other side it has some people in the Warthog, presumably trying to return the flag with the base. But I really like this one, not because of the color scheme, not because it's translucent and see-through, but because they also added some sound effects. So when you power it on and you open up the disc tray, or even close the disc tray and power it off, you get coinciding sound effects that, I don't know if they're exactly pulled from the game, but they're reminiscent and remind you of the game and the ambiance. When you power it up, you get this little Promethean sounding sound effect. Sounds a little synthetic, and I thought it was fun. They also changed the Xbox colors from green to blue, and if I had the matching controller, it would also be this translucent blue to match, and the Xbox ring would actually glow blue instead of green, which really nice touch. I like when they do stuff like that. It really helps separate the consoles from their original standard version. You can also open up the disc tray and get a different sound effect. I actually like that one better than the power on. There is a lot of detail kind of reminding you of the Forerunner technology that was very present throughout Halo 4. You have all these etchings on the front. It's not embossed or anything, it feels more like painted onto the plastic. And then on the sides you get this like hazy, transparent gradient going from the back to the front, where in the back it's a little bit more, it's a little bit less opaque and transparent. As you move to the front, you get to see some of the inner workings of the Xbox, which is really cool. On the other side, same deal, but you have a little bit of the carryover of these paintings on the plastic, as well as the vent for the fan. So almost 10 years ago, we saw the release of Halo 4, and then it took another 3 years until 2015, where we saw the release of Halo 5 Guardians, which by that time, Xbox One was already released and kind of well into its life cycle at that point. I personally really like the Halo 5 Xbox One. I like the color scheme that they went with. It's reminiscent of Spartan Locke from the game, which is not really a fan favorite, but just the color scheme in general, I appreciate it. I like more of those gray tones and blues when they're incorporated into the Xbox, because we're so used to seeing like green involved with them. So this was a nice little deviation from it, and a deviation from the Master Chief colors. So very cool. This one also came with a special edition controller, and it features the same color scheme as the console itself, with some blue accents, silver, gray, metallic, kind of that like gunmetal gray look almost. Everything is virtually the same. There's no added benefits or features to the controller besides the color scheme. You just get something nice that matches your Xbox. But very similarly to how Halo 4 incorporated the sound effects, the Xbox One for Halo 5 also does the same. It sounds more like a sound effect that you'd hear from one of the Guardians from the game. So when you power it on, I dig it. I thought that was really cool. Unlike the Halo 4 console, you also get some differentiating sounds when you power on versus power off. And since they opted for the slot loading drive and instead of a disc tray on this console, you only get the one sound when you eject the disc. Pretty nifty. And then I also like the powering down sound as well. So it sounds like a Forerunner Guardian. I thought that was pretty cool. I enjoy the color scheme. You still get the same white Xbox logo, the glowing button on the front, which is touch sensitive, and that's important because on the Series X they made some changes as well. It costed $500 when it was released back in 2015 of October. I think that was also the original price of the regular Xbox One. So you got a nice upgrade when you got this one because you got a bigger hard drive as well as a copy of the game included. But other than that, there was just a color scheme difference and a nice little Halo sound effect to go with turning your Xbox on and off. Really fun. I still use this to play Halo because I haven't opened my Series X, but that's all about to change because now we get to unbox the Halo Infinite Series X. And it really is a hefty package. This thing means business. If you're one of the lucky few to get your hands on the Halo Infinite Edition Series X, consider yourself lucky because it's very sought after. I myself had to wait to get this because online scalpers were just really monopolizing all the online drops, and it was near impossible to get one. Some people were lucky enough to get one. I was not one of those people, so I waited at Best Buy to get my copy, and I'm very glad I did because I really wanted to keep up the tradition of getting a Halo Edition console, and this one is no different. I'm more excited about this one because it also marks the 20th anniversary of Halo and Xbox. The front of the packaging is where you're going to see the most difference because you see Master Chief, the console itself, it tells you that you get a digital copy of the game. You see some elements of the game in the background and kind of that Zeta Halo ring, but otherwise everything else, well, I lied. The side also has a couple of those images too. The back side is the same as the other Series X boxes. You see Master Chief, Power Your Dreams, and tells you about the console with its like, solid state drives, Game Pass, Quick Resume, those kinds of things. Along with this side, you see like it's capable of 4K. It comes with a 4K Blu-ray drive, VRR, HDR, every R. You see the blue vents though on the top of this console, which I think was a big sell for me because I like blue. And now the moment of truth. Ta-da! As soon as you lift the outer layer off, you're greeted by Master Chief along with the Halo Infinite and 20 year of Halo and Xbox logos. I think just seeing this makes it all the more worth it to have waited to get a Series X, because Series X's are still really hard to find, and it's the end of 2021. They were released a year ago, I think, in 2020. My months and years might be off, and maybe they were released before that, but I'm pretty sure consoles have been out for a year. But this one originally was supposed to be released for launch with Halo Infinite as a launch title to the Series X. That didn't happen. We saw a delay. It was pushed back. And now just having this in our hands, I think maybe they were going to do a different limited edition console, but now that it coincides with the 20-year anniversary, we get a very cool design. So you flip it around, you open it up, and then you get to see the packaging of the console and all that inside. You have the UNSC insignia, little foam padding up here, and then you have the console itself just front and center. I really don't want to touch it. I don't want to leave it in the box and donate it or give it to a museum or something. Oh, hey. You also see his ID number, 117, Spartan 117. Little touches like that just make the ownership of one of these kinds of consoles all the more special. I don't even think the Halo 4 and 5 packaging had this kind of detail or throwback. It's just on this one because of the 20th anniversary commemoration. Ooh. Lots of little touches. Go over them really quick. You have the Xbox logo. You have 20 years right there on the very front with Master Chief. And then you also have UNSC, which is upside down. It doesn't let you know which side is top and which side is bottom, so I'm just going to have to dump it on the table as is. Oh, did it backwards. Halo Infinite Series X. A lot of you have probably seen what it looks like already from pictures, unboxing videos, and the like, but it's just very different to be able to see it in person. I was actually expecting some of these little like star patterns and designs to be reflective and maybe like some kind of reflective gold finish or something like that. Just something that would help them pop a little bit more. Maybe they'd be embossed and you could actually feel them, but you don't feel them. There's just the texture of the plastic. You can feel these, like this here, this etching, you can feel that because it continues onto the sides as well. Doesn't go to the back. In the back, instead we see that Celebrating 20 Years logo again, which has Master Chief right in the middle. And then you have those blue little circles up there. Oh, actually no, those are seeing through to the vents on top. The vents are blue, which is a little hard to show on camera, but rather than green of the Series X, you have some blue vents and the star designs and patterns continue on the top, as well as all three sides except for the back. Wow, Christmas really did come early, because I'm opening my presents at least a full 3 weeks before it's even Christmas. So you got the controller. Nice of them to throw in some batteries as well. Ooh, this is a very sophisticated controller. I like it. Kind of reminds me of the Spartan Lock controller, where it's a little bit more muted, not like translucent or vibrant blue like the Halo 4 controllers were, but you have that charcoal gray, gunmetal gray kind of finish, but darker than Spartan Locke, and it has those gold accents. What you also get is these rubberized grips on the back, which I don't believe the regular Series X controllers have them, so that is nice. Feels nice. Nothing on the inside. I thought maybe there would have been some kind of like engraving or like hidden Easter egg or something in there, but it's not on the inside. Instead you get just, again, that 20th anniversary logo. There you go, you can see the 20th logo right there. They really want you to know that it's 20 years since the original Halo and Xbox came out, because it's plastered all over the packaging. It's on the back of the Xbox, it's on the back of the controller, so they want to make sure you know 20 years strong, Halo's been around. But we need to see what those power-up sounds are once we boot up the actual console. So ooh, that was pretty magical. Almost sounds like it could be like the chime of like Disney Plus or Netflix or some kind of streaming service. It's like a piano chord. Kind of sounded like the first chord to the dun 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 dun. And how about if we turn it off? I'm impressed. I hope this video served as a nice stroll down memory lane for many of you as it did for me. Owning these consoles, having them in my collection, and still playing them regularly with friends is a huge nostalgic throwback to when we would play earlier Halo titles and games on the 360 and forward. But with the release of Halo Infinite, this one will definitely see a lot more use, get a lot more hours logged, and a lot more memories made. If you're considering getting this particular console, and if you can find it, I think the price tag of $550 is well worth it, and I would definitely spend it again to be able to add this to my collection. If you already have an existing special edition console, whether it's Halo or a different game, make sure to hold on to it as long as you can, because the memories you've created with it and your friends will far surpass the games you played to make them. Thank you guys for watching, and catch you on the flip side.
Let's go!